I think we got a mic. I think we got a host. We'll remove that. Put that right there. Got Blondie and Sparky there, representing the house oh so well. Sparky's near camera. Blondie's over there chewing on his butt. And I am John. I think what is this camera? This camera. Welcome to the stream. Welcome to the show. Whatever this thing is called. Like I said, my name is John. Channel RFO John. I keep looking at this camera, but it's not working right now, so it doesn't matter. We are a fitness channel, stream, content creator, guy, person, whatever. Any case, the whole point of this stream, the whole point of the efforts that we have here is to help y'all with whatever it is that you do physically when it comes to exercise. I need an elevator pitch for this shit, don't I? But that's basically what it is. Exercise education, movement mechanics. However you want to think about it. The way you move and negotiate the world physically with your body. If it causes you pain or discomfort, or maybe you just don't know how the fuck to do it. Holler at us. Come, stay a while. Sit and listen. And if you got questions, that's why we're here. If you are currently working out and you need some help, you're looking for maybe some pointers or advice, or maybe you got some pain. Maybe you started working out, but now you notice your low back, your knee, or just some joint is just not cranky or is feeling cranky for you. Right? That's again our bread and butter. We're trying to help people kick pain out of their lives. So that way, again, they can go out and do what they want to do. Maybe you are a content creator. Maybe you just enjoy, playing games. Fuck, I know I do. But sometimes sitting down for long hours at a time, create some crankiness in our low back. Maybe it starts irritating our neck. If your current strategy is to either stop what you're doing, go get medications, maybe even cut out the activity altogether. I mean, potentially, depending on what it is, right? Like if the activity is just you hitting your head in the wall, may not be a bad thing to stop. But if you're noticing like you're having to stop activities that bring you joy, things that are fun for you because of these things, because of this pain, right? There is very high likelihood that it's corrective, that it can be corrected. Very high likelihood that it is a muscle imbalance. And once we identify the root cause of the imbalance, kind of cheesy and salesy as it is, restore, again, balance to the joints, restore balance to the body, right? From there, the pain goes away, subsides, and then you have less episodes of it. And honestly, it's just as much, honestly, I hate when I say that. At the end of it, if we're sitting here in front of a computer, in front of anything you could be a machinist in front of a CNC machine, and you're just sitting here with your head reaching way far forward, and you're resting your hands behind your back, or maybe you have arms on your computer desk chair and you rest your arms back here, or maybe you lean back. All of these little insidious little, or these little inconspicuous, innocuous little activities, 8, 10, 12 hours a day, y'all, it's going to fucking add up. So again, if you got pain, you want to try to find a solution to it, and you've already been medically cleared, and just told rest it, take some ibuprofen, elevate it, come through. Give us a video, show us a movement video. Reach out to us on either Reddit, Twitch, YouTube. We even got a website. You can reach out to us by email on there, info@Range Fitness Online. And we would love to give you some assistance. And if you're willing to let us videotape you and stream you and all that kind of stuff, do it for free, right? That's what this whole channel's for. This, especially Thursday mornings. Thursday morning, upload it to our Reddit. and I'll review it Thursday mornings. If you upload it before Thursday, I'll probably even slide in on the comments and put some comments in there as well to get you going until Thursday morning when we get the video reviews. So that's what this whole ding is. And without further ado, let's get it. All right. We're going to slide all the way down to the bottom. I got a lot of videos today because we got actually two workouts in this last week. And that was last week's little meme. I get these little ear zits. I hate them. All right. Enough of those nervous ticks out of the way, right? I have more flashiness on this page, I feel our Twitch page is so boring. All right. Hands popped. Let's do to it. All right. So let's see this squat for the first one up. This was, I guess, last week, Thursday. I'm not really sure how much I have on the bar. I think it may only be 65 pounds here. Might be more. I feel it looks like a 10-pound plate. Now, for me, I'm not too worried about, yes, big numbers on the bar is always great. Gets that ego going for sure. But I found really working movement and thinking movement as a skill and treating it less about this completion of X reps with X weight. Trust, I get it. If you're working in a competition, you're trying to do a power lift, meet, or something of that nature, numbers are going to be important. But if you're just living life, the fuck's the number mean? It's a good way to check your progress. Yes, it's a good way of kind of just seeing how things are going. But ultimately, what does a 10-pound plate mean to your bicep? What does a 10-pound plate mean to your quad? It doesn't know the difference. All right, so let's get off of the soapbox for now, and let's look at this squat here. So how do we simplify this? Because squats are very complicated. So first and foremost is always going to be our flat feet, the tripod foot. Haven't shown this. Let's see, go to the dog cam. Out the horrible glare. There we go. All right. So trying to get the sense of a tripod foot when we're standing. From there, we're showing a back squat in this video, but these rules are really going to apply for any squat. So braced core, first and foremost. Tripod foot, finding that placement. And then when we create the movement, right? For a squat, I think one of the easiest, simpler landmarks to kind of play with is keeping our spine parallel with our lower leg. This can be tough visually sometimes, but I find if we can kind of have that idea, that really helps kind of keep everything in the squat bucket versus tipping into maybe more of a deadlift hinge effort. Again, core engagement, and honestly, that's like a Sunday school answer. I feel if you ever went to Sunday school, you could always just, teacher ever asked you a question, you just say Jesus or God or love, and if you probably hit one of those three, you'd get a good answer, right? In exercise, like the Sunday school answer, I feel is engage your core. That's like, was the core engaged? I mean, when I work with clients, that's one of the big things. I'll be, well, let's engage your core first. And I know everybody's like, now come on, John. It's not the core. And as soon as they drop, oh, yeah, my back doesn't hurt. Again, we all get into this idea. I call it a litany. You can call it a checklist. You can call it whatever it is in your mind. with this step by step. I go from the ground up. So I think again of my feet, my knees, my hips, my shoulders, and my dome, my head. Right? Where are those in line with everything? Right? Fancy term, kinetic chain. We'll just slide the whole picture that way. All right, so in I'm going to call it exercise science. In the sense of a kinetic chain, so everything's connected like a chain link fence, and so one thing moves, it's going to pull the whole chain. And so we want to again think of this and have things as ideally as stacked as we can. Specifically like our center of mass, especially if you're doing something like a back squat, deadlifting, we want as much of that to be perpendicular to the ground because that's what we're working against. We're trying to work against gravity to push that weight up, so versus out. And so as you're setting up, make it a habit. When you're setting up for a squat, getting your feet under your knees, a little soft bend, right? We don't want to be locking our knees out. Why not? Why don't people need, why shouldn't we lock out joints? What's the danger of, trying to hyperextend a joint or putting a joint at its maximum tensioned, if you will? Depending on the individual, this can go from pretty benign to, oh, goddamn. For the general public, when we get to these locked joint positions, you're no longer having this kind of give. If you've done any car work, shocks and struts, it'd basically be like completely compressing the shock or the strut and then installing them and not letting that pressure release. If you've done any like forklift driving, you feel every little bump on those suckers because there's no give, there's no shock absorption. But when our knees or any joint for that matter are locked out completely, there is no shock absorption available, right? It's just bone on bone on bone going up through the body. We have a little bit of bend, right? Now we have a little bit of cushion, a little bit of ability to give with the movement. The other side of this, right, especially for hyper flexible people, so if you have, you might consider yourself double jointed, misnomer. Won't talk about that right now. Get off that. It could be something like Marfan syndrome. But these I won't call them outliers, but the individuals again with outside the norm as far as joint flexibility. And so if you're one of these hyper flexible individuals, right, and you're going into these lock knee positions or lock elbowed positions, you have the potential of overextending overextending. And so this could be, depending on the structures of your joints, right? This could cause some major fucking shit, like a big pop or a big break in something. If it's one of those things that you've been kind of fussing with for years on end, you might have kind of grooving out a path. And you've seen some of these workout videos where people like turn their elbows backwards and they're doing some weird bicep curls in reverse, or they pop their knees backwards. Again, as a fitness professional, my recommendation would be not to do those things. If it's not causing them pain, good on them. But I feel it's one of those, over time, there's going to be we're going to end up having to pay for it in some manner. Unless they're being very meticulous about how they get there. But let's peel it back. So again, this kinetic chain. So you'll see me in bicep curls, overhead press, right? Where it's always about first organizing this kinetic chain. Having a sense of where everything is. Say, kind of put a finger on everything. Again, so we go from the feet, the knees, the hips. You can even think of that as your midsection as well. My shoulders, which is again, taking into account my spine, my rib cage. So if I was overly extended, I'd have a big flare and my shoulders would be behind my hips. If I was collapsed, right, my shoulders would be in front of my hips, which would also mean my stomach is collapsed and I'm collapsed in my ribs. Both are also not ideal. And you can see here where I could probably be working a little bit more to pull my head backwards, trying to get my ears a little more in line and over top of the shoulders. That being said, it is back squat, right? So there is a lot of demand through this anterior to be lengthened. Not trying to give myself an excuse, but I'm also trying to be understanding of myself. You can tell that I'm already trying to stand upright. But for me, it's one of those things that I got to continuously be mindful of this, because and we'll see as the lift goes, right? But as we lift, I'll have the propensity to allow my head to start falling downwards, in which I'm being very short through my throat, which causes what it can turn into what is commonly called straight neck. If you're on your phone a lot, right, our neck is in this straight position, we lose that C curve. I got a buddy who's a chiro, and he's seen 12-year-olds that are having, vertebrae, their neck vertebra are fusing together with bone because they're in this forward head posture so much. When we put weights on our back, what are we doing? We're training whatever position we're in. So I know it seems like old man shit, get off my lawn. But working on just lifting your head up into a more neutral position during your exercises is going to go so far into helping you stave off weird little pains. It's going to go so far to helping you build a posture that you may want. And it's going to help keep the effort in the muscles that you want it to be in. Everywhere. Last little caveat on this. I was at the gym yesterday with my pops, and there were some youngins, probably high school age, definitely high school age, maybe middle school even. They look like freshmen, sophomores. And they were doing some weird exercise, like forearm exercises or something. And so they were on a cable machine, and they were trying to do this stuff. And then they'd go get a easy curl bar, and they'd have that easy curl bar behind them. If you can see in the dog cam, they're doing those kinds of wrist curls and wrist extensions. And that's all fine and dandy, whatever. Your program's your program. The things that one wants to work on is the things they want to work on. God bless. Yeah. Go enjoy your life. The issue that I think I would say I had for them or with them wasn't so much, I keep looking at this camera and y'all are over there right now. The issue wasn't the exercise selection. For me, it was the execution. So when they were doing the cable one, however they were, found it, both of these young guys were they had to collapse their chest to just even get the bar in some sort of position. And then even when the bar wasn't moving, they're just doing their little wrist exercises. They're still in that collapsed chest position. And then when they go for the other exercise with the bar behind them, it was the same thing. Right? Their chest was having to be collapsed because they chose too heavy of a weight because they wanted to get a lot of movement through the wrist, not paying attention to the fact that they had no ability or lacked the strength to actually hold their shoulders in a good position. And so that's what I mean is it's all they're doing is training more of that collapsed chest. All they're doing is training more of the forward tilts of their shoulders and what other compensations they may be dealing with. Fucking 13, 14 years old, probably won't even notice it. If you do, no one connects those dots. We treat it as this one-off thing that'll go away, and it might, but it's very likely it comes right back. I mean, I can vividly remember having low back pain in high school. I know I had knee pain from time to time. They were short, flirty, so to speak. But no one ever was like, oh, you need to work on some mobility. Oh, you need to like change up how you're squatting. Oh, you need to draw in your core and actually use your core. Man, we would do fucking ab exercises that all of us would just feel our fucking low backs burning. High plank, I never felt a high plank or a low plank in my stomach. It was always my low back because that's all I was fucking working. I mean, it wasn't all I was working, but it was what I was working. And then you add to the fact of sports competition, right? There's this time element. So there's this mental barrier that you're working with too, this mental toughness that you're trying to grow. So then it becomes this even worse in that we're overtraining a muscle patterning for a very valid thing. Like, it's good to have mental toughness. It's good to feel yourself in the struggle and be like, get your shit together. You can handle this. And then you do it, right? That's how we grow as people. The problem for me, oh my gosh, these goddamn stream boo fuckers. Y'all, at least y'all got off of the cheap viewers, but the best viewers are the ones I don't pay for. The best viewers are the ones that choose to be here. Demonk chick. So now I've got to deal with your ass. How do I do this? Is it time them out? I think we'll ban them. Banning is good. We got to do better. Run a report. I think it's terrorism. They're terrorizing my community. I don't think that's probably what they want that used for, though. Spam, spam, spam. Selling viewers. There we go. All right, did my boomer action for the day. Anybody who's here says get off the fucking soapbox, old man. Only 49 viewers. We may have to go to a different goddamn platform. Ain't nobody in goddamn fitness anymore. All right, fuck it. Let's get squatting. So we talked about kinetic chain. Step 1, kinetic chain, right? Any exercise, that's going to be the first thing we focus on is your kinetic chain. Just checking in with everything. Get your feet placement, soft bend in the knees, find your pelvis, shoulders in place, engaged. Once there, then you choose your movement. What kind of movement are we working? This is a squat. So we need to think about a squat as a flex tip and a flex knee. Bent hips, bent knees. How do you have a bent knee? Right? When we have a lap versus no lap. Right? So you think of it that way. So for squats, I was saying earlier, parallel chest, or right there's actually a pretty good one. Enhance. Alrighty. And I even got a pretty straight line right there. And then we go from here. Where's my shin? Pop. Ankle, knee. Run them up. And we're trying to maintain that kind of a relationship. We're looking at the front of my shin, my spine, and really working on trying to keep that parallel as we move through that. Now that's a very, again, I think of it as a very simplistic way. It's a way I like to think of this. It does twofold for you. One, it makes sure that we get our knees moving. The other side of this, right, is to make sure we get our hips moving. So by kind of having this one concept, this one framework, we're able to kind of hit two things. There's a popular content creator out there for fitness. His name is the knees over toes guy. And I guess when I started in training too. There was this maybe slight fear, hesitation. Not sure what the right word is, but maybe fear mongering is just what it was. But your knees passing over your toes. This is a very real anatomical thing to be concerned about. When we are having our knee move forward, there's these muscles in the back of the leg, right? Go with green. Your calves. Your calf only has so much tension or so much length. And so as our knee goes forward, we can see that the point from here to here is going to be further as the knee goes forward. Thus, this line becomes longer. Well, there's going to be a point where that knee goes so far forward, this can no longer lengthen. So what happens? What's going to happen when the calf can't lengthen anymore? We're going to keep driving the knee forward. That's the given. That's the problem of the exercise here, right? So as the knee goes forward, if there is not sufficient length in that calf, what's going to happen? Your heel comes up. And if your heel is up, that means there's no longer weight through the floor in the heel, and all your mass is going to be in the forefoot. What does that mean? It means you're not using your glutes anymore. Not like you should be. Now, this also very commonly is when people go into these positions, they will get all kinds of fucking knee pain. Right? And again, we think about it, right? If your calf is hyper short, for whatever reason, you do a lot of walking, a lot of running, you wear shoes that fuck up your feet, that fuck up your calves, whatever the reason, right? Could also have some short hip flexor issues, all other kinds of shit, whatever. But when we take the structure and we push it beyond the limits of the system, you're going to get pain. Like, pain sucks. I hate pain. I don't want pain in my life. But when I do have pain and I'm listening for it or I sense it, it is a great thing because it tells me that what I'm doing is not good for me. It tells me that what I'm doing, if I keep doing it, is going to get worse. And this isn't so much necessarily kind of like, in some ways, it's kind of like our parents telling us not to do something. And it's like, well, it's never happened work, you know. Eventually, something's going to give. Now, maybe you play your cards right and you stay out of the danger zones and you can still do the things like you've been doing. But very likely is if you're doing something that presents you with pain and it's repeating and you're doing it often or regularly enough to have a thing about it, you need to stop doing that. Find the root cause. So for a lot of people that I've worked with, when they have knee pain in their squat, they are commonly going too far with their knee past their toes. Right? Ugh. Straight down. And they are typically driving that knee too far past what their anatomy can allow at that given time. When squatting, you want to keep your heel flat. You want your knees as far over the toes as you can while maintaining that flat heel. Right? And so like the knees over the toes guy is a clever, catchy YouTube title. But the caveat, right, is understanding why the knee can or can't go forward. So let's peel it back now into you just want to know what a good squat is. Oh, can't zoom in here. So again, step one is going to be that kinetic chain, being connected, establishing your kinetic chain. And let's just lump in your tripod foot with that. All right, so finding your foot placement and that kinetic chain and stacking everything up on top. For a squat and any lower body exercise, you're going to begin with a hip hinge. See if we can't see that. We got our chain, we got the bar, we got our body, getting everything checked in. Bam. So once we got everything set and we're ready to begin, we're watching to see the hips initiate the movement. Bam. Right there. It's just this little bit. It's this almost, you may even feel like your center of mass is moving backwards a little bit. But step one is, again, hip hinge. So we get our, I guess, step one. How many steps and how many processes are you going over? Step one, kinetic chain, tripod foot. Step two for a squat is going to be a hip hinge. The tiniest little hip hinge. Ever littlest, like 2% of the movement is just hip hinge. Once we've initiated that, we've now asked the glutes to participate. We've now asked the hamstrings to participate, if you want to think of it that way. There is dust up here. It's irritating me. From here, I like to think of the hips displacing our center of mass, displacing our weight. The knees are what's going to lower it. So as the movement continues, the hips, right, they'll still go back. The knees will need to go forward. And ideally, that bar goes straight down and straight up. For beginners, I recommend looking for about 90 degrees at your knee. So we're going to get, I think that right. I'm lying to you. Thinking about, no, yeah. Whoop. Not an arrow, damn it. I'll do another arrow. Oh my God. Hope if I hit Control Z, huh? You gotta do the sound effect and it makes it work. All right, so we're looking for about 90 degrees at your knee relative to the lower leg. That's really what I'm looking at. Here would be fine to get about 45 degrees or so. So I can get a little more hinge into that would be fine, or a little more of my hips going back. Now getting your thigh below your knee, hips parallel, all that is a good goal. You're not going to lift your heaviest down here. The heaviest that you could humanly lift, you're not going to be able to lift from down here. And that's normal. It's natural. It's just is what it is. Long muscles are weak muscles. This is why you can see people get on squat racks and load up that whole fucking bar with weights, unrack it, and do these little pumps, and then they throw it back in the rack. Because if they go any deeper, they're going to fall. They're not going to be able to get back up. Probably kill themselves, but that's neither here nor there. And so again, we're at the bottom of our squat. Please be aligned. All right, so again, we're trying to maintain that parallelness between our chest and our spine. And still working on trying to maintain our flat foot. Kind of an upward foot, I guess. And then in last but not least, that sense of center of mass. Terrible line. Staying over top the middle of the foot, feeling nice and perpendicular, right? Oh my God, so many lines, John. How do I keep up with it? Practice. It's just practice. Lightweight, PVC, goblet squats, all of those things are just ways to practice learning how to get into this position. Now, as you get to this position, don't allow that sway back. No butt winking. Right? Really can, as I go down here, you'll notice I'm not having this sucking up underneath me of my hips. And everyone should practice that, especially the heavier you go. That butt wink is what creates lots of herniations, lots of disc issues. All right. So I'm liking my tempo here. As I'm seeing from this angle, I think the big thing I'm wanting, again, it's always more trying to pull my head further back, not letting my head fall too far forward. It's something I'm really trying to focus on. And I know for me, I do a lot of hip flexion stuff, so I'm being very mindful of ensuring my knees bend. And on a few of these reps, I feel like I bend my knees too soon. There was a good hip hinge, then the knees bent. Hip hinge, knees bent. And the way I kind of see it is if I bend my knees or if a client bends their knees too soon, right, they just kind of shift down versus that hip hinge. Now, looking at this, I feel like it probably spent a little longer at the bottom of the hole. And that one looked like it did more knee bend. But I like how I'm not resting too long at the top. We hit the top and then we're right back into it. And then as noted before in other videos, do also a better job of a forceful exhale through the mouth. You notice again, I sometimes leave my mouth pretty agape. One last thing I want to look at. So again, I haven't talked about it too much this morning, but my right shoulder is my struggle. It's kind of hard to see with this angle. I'm going to have to try to get maybe a front view next time I squat. See if I want to make sure I'm not twisting or rotating. And then this right shoulder, just trying to get a sense of how well is it staying in position. Can't really compare it to the other side just because we're only getting this one view. Oh no, I liked the squats. They looked good. Still some places to improve. We got another set of squats we'll take a look at later this morning as well and see if we catch anything different. Alrighty. There's enough belly aching there. Ooh. Shoulder dislocations. Ever done these? I see people doing these as warm-ups all the time. Not necessarily with a band either. Mostly with PVC. I see people kind of, looks like people trying to do kayaking in the gym. So this is a really great exploratory motion tool, right? You can do some of this stuff like even on a wall. Let's peel back. Now, commonly what I find with people when they do this, again, taking it back to the kinetic chain, have a mindset of where your kinetic chain is in this. Feet, knees, hips, shoulders, head. Having all of those stacked. All right. And as we go through this motion, especially these dislocations, you'll find that your body will try to wiggle all sorts of ways. Notice here how my right hand is a little further along than my left hand. Even looks like I'm pulling harder on my right side versus my left side. Kind of even it out, pulling my head back. Trying to get even out, even out. What I like about using the band here is when we get to this portion, that band, you can kind of give into it. And so the band almost pulls your hands closer together. Peel it back here. And so where this is really beneficial for people, if we can make it happen, is because we are so externally rotated. And this band is, again, pulling us inwards. Right? This presents a great opportunity to lengthen into your pec minor and across your clavicle. However, right, you can see even for me is my dome is trying to fall forward to, again, collapse into this. And this is like them young bucks I was talking about earlier, right? These are those times where we really got to work on trying to keep as broad as you can in that position. Then as you come back, staying as broad as you can and working it back through. If you do it that way, it is exhausting. It's not just like greasing the groove a little bit. This is your muscular efforts throughout the motion. But again, I really like this, and that's why I'm camping back here. Right? Like I'm here at 19 seconds. And I'm just, again, trying to let the band give in a little bit. And probably a good 4 or 5 seconds of just letting that cook. Now coming back up and over. Right now our pec minor and other stuff is in this very long position. And we're making it kind of work through and against the band now. So it hits things, it helps lengthen what's tight, but then it allows us to do a little bit of work with those overactive muscles in a lengthened position. And this one I find is just, again, a good overall. You got shoulder issues, get yourself a nice light band. If that's too much, just with your arms is fine against the wall. And use that to help kind of explore different positions and challenging that shoulder in those various motions. If you're going to do this, a couple of things to keep in note. First off is when you're setting up, your hands are going to need to be wider than your elbows, wider than your shoulders. That's just, again, mechanics. It's not a me thing or a you thing. It's an everybody thing. The game is to keep our arms as even as possible. At least in this variation. There are other variations where the goal is going to be maybe just one arm at a time, and that's fine. Like I said, sometimes I'll do this on a wall. You can only do it with one arm, right? Typically, we don't have two walls that are close enough for us to put our arms on. Most hallways aren't that narrow. So once we have this band in our hands, and even if you're using a PVC dowel or something else, I encourage you to think like you're pulling it apart. Again, the band, it makes it easy just because you don't want the band to be slack. A dowel, you'll have to be a little bit more honest with yourself. But once we start getting up overhead, this is where the challenge for most people starts to begin. With, again, a band, if it gets too challenging, you just pull more tension into the band. If it gets too challenging, you just loosen your hands a little bit and just still go wider, just with less tension in the band overall. And then the same thing is once we get back to here, again, back behind us, you can see even for me, this is where the challenge starts to begin, trying to keep everything back because my body wants to kind of collapse forward during all this. Panelito, how we doing, man? Good morning to you, sir. How those push-ups going? Speaking of push-ups, this would be a good one if you're still doing them. This is a great chest opener. You holding the store down? Now, on this, you can work, like, try to be real mindful of your breathing in and out, but just be mindful of your breathing. Try not to commit too hard, like, I gotta inhale all the way back this way, and I gotta exhale all the way this way. Breathe as naturally as you can during this, and just, yeah, fucker sucks. I haven't tried push-ups since weeks. I got you, man. Hey, just little bits, just little bits. What you been doing? Been busy with the Twitch streaming. I've been seeing you've been streaming pretty frequently lately, man. I just ain't ever in a place to see you. In the middle of like driving to work or something. All right. Panelito just got here in time. His favorites. But I started handstand workout 3 weeks. Okay. Damn. How's that going? There's lots of falling down. Handstands. I went to a handstand clinic once. And that was a pretty fun, like, I think it was like a 3 or 4 hour seminar. Already got a little goal. What's that? You going handstand walks or? I could hold a handstand for, okay. And like there's a lot of the balance and stability required for that is outrageous, ain't it, man? So are you I guess you're using a wall, or how are you practicing? Yeah. Makes a big difference. Hopefully it's not like a dry wall, it's like a brick wall. Concrete wall. You haven't kicked any holes in the wall yet, have you? Well, let's look at some bicep curls here. And as a part of like even in your handstand push-ups or handstands, even push-ups, the shoulder requirements, the shoulder stability requirements is going to be pretty high. Especially for a handstand. Like handstands or any overhead pressing, right? We're so extended, the shoulder has to go into a very unstable position to express that. And so knowing ways of how to reestablish and create stability within your shoulder, and that way you can keep on practicing that for the long haul, unless you just, collapse on your face, and we don't want that. I'll use the wall to kick up, but with the face, do the wall. I don't touch the wall. Just use yep. That's excellent. And even if you had to use the wall to slide up and down, like if you're trying to do some reps for your like handstand or overhead presses, like using a little bit of the wall to help keep you as stacked as possible is great. How do your legs during it? Are you rigid with the legs, or are they just sprawled out like a prom date? Okay. Dude, if you want to upload it on our website, or not the website, but on Reddit, man, I'd love to look at it. So on these bicep curls, and it's a little different on handstands and overheads in that, again, your elbow is going to be above your head. However, there he goes. I got it on YouTube. I am not in Discord, man. I've tried messing with Discord. Oh, that's mine. Interesting. Fucking wall of text just showed up there, huh? No, I'm not in Discord. I have a Discord. but I have not done much with Discord. It's one of those back burner projects. Oh, there's that one too. Look at that. All of the little chat bots are working now. Okay. I'll try to run over there and check it out here. So even on those handstand push-ups, so you'll notice how I'm trying to be mindful, or how I'm really, again, pulling back between the shoulders before I even start my bicep curls. You should join, friendo. I've honestly not had... I was never into much social media as a child. When I was like a teen, at the advent of all this shit. I was not an AOL messenger. I didn't talk on the phone. Just played my damn games and played football. So I've always been very hesitant in Discord. Just because I don't like change. But because you invited me, Panelito, I'll go check it out. So notice again on even for bicep curls, the sense of keeping our shoulders held back. And you notice again the elbows are bending, but they're not moving or swinging. So it's the same idea, right? In our push-ups or our overhead presses, we still want to have some stability within the shoulders. We'll do, man. We'll do. As we create the movement. Now, another thing I kind of work on this, and this is maybe a little, I don't want to say it advanced, but if you have the mental bandwidth. So earlier we were talking about squats in the sense of a kinetic chain. And same thing for your overhead, your handstand push-ups or your handstands, being mindful of that kinetic chain. So even if you're upside down, you can go from the ground up. So because I'm standing here, the kinetic chain would be feet, knees, hips, shoulders, head. And if you're upside down, you would just go hands instead of your feet, maybe head, shoulders, hips, knees, and feet, right? And one of the common faults or compensation patterns for overheads is their legs are wide open. And our legs are sprawled, or they might be kicking back and forth. Maybe we're bending at the knees a little bit, or hyperextending a lot of time. If you're using a wall, it prevents it. But if you're out in space, as it were, right, our feet will hang way, way over, and we get this real big back extension, kind of a hyperextended back. And so again, being mindful of that kinetic chain as you set up or get into it. Now, if I was doing something like handstands, depending on where I'm at within it, an ideal way is to try to minimize any momentum. And again, some of it is kind of nitpicky, right? It would be maybe trying to walk yourself up the wall with your hands, and your feet climb up the wall and your hands walk on the floor, versus doing this kind of kicking handstand. In that, if you're doing the kicking handstand, we build up a lot of momentum. And so finding those ways to minimize momentum and expand that challenge is not what I was thinking of. What's your deadlift record, dude? I think the most I've ever deadlifted was probably around 255, 225, 250, probably somewhere around there. It's been a while since I've done max deadlifting. And then lately I've been having issues on, like I said, been saying on that right shoulder. So last time I was doing max lifts on deadlifting, I was getting about 135 or so. But that shoulder kept popping off. But no, I could probably hit about 225 or so if I had to. How about yourself? You do much deadlifting? I don't think I have any deadlifts today. That was last week. Deadlift today, though. Actually, I'm doing Romanians right now. So not full conventionals. And the same thing on these, right? Real slow on the way down. Trying again, feel that stretch sense. And then what you also can do in this, especially for curls, if you got the bandwidth on it, on that slow down, keep the shoulders holding back, feeling that chest big and tall, versus letting your body go down with the weight. You'll see this kind of happen on me at the end. I'm just kind of fatigued out, so I kind of quit early on the rep. We get this one. It's the next one. And then I just let kind of go with the weights to let it down. Max is 330 for 3 reps. Fucking A, man. Solid. How long ago was that? I'm gonna say, you must have had a big ass fucking meal after that, too. Yesterday. Fucking A, man. That's another one. If you got video of that, I'd like to see that, too. That's impressive. Fucking 3 plates and change. All right, so we're back on some squatting here. Oh. No video yet. I feel you. I feel you. So I recall on this particular day, I was feeling a little off in my squat. Nothing bad. I just didn't feel the squarest. But it could have also just been the heat or my sexy knee-high socks. So the same thing like on deadlift, right? There were deadlift and squats, I think people get confused on, right? Because they can both be a lot of hip flexion and knee flexion. It's going to be that body orientation, right? So how do you know if you're doing a squat versus a deadlift besides like bar positioning? I mean, if you're in this kind of upright posture, we're squatting. For a deadlift, right, your hips are going to be further up and you would have more of a horizontal-esque chest. But you're still using the same prime movers, right? And so I think that's where a lot of times people confuse these things. And that's what I mean, right? It's having this litany and just knowing where the little things make a little diversion. So first is your kinetic chain, finding all that and getting that organized. Then no matter what the lower body, like I was saying, is it all begins with a hip hinge. Right? So even on these squats, a little hip hinge and then those knees bend. I'm going to scroll down real quick to last week. With that one. Yeah. All right, so this is a Romanian deadlift. But all this is this hip hinge, right? So, bam. That's the exact thing. Bro, I got to start work now. That's no worries. No stress. Appreciate you stopping by. Thank you for staying high. And I'll try to find your, what's it called? Discord today. And check out those handstand work. Manolito, kick ass today, man. Appreciate you coming by. You as well. You as well. But yeah, when Willie got squat, like this is the same thing. Where is it? As this. At least for the first like 30%. And so finding, not just hopping in there and being like, I'm squatting. Uh-oh, this thing turned on again. Interesting. But it's about finding that everything is the same. I remember in high school sports, man, people would always eat the same meal on their game days. They'd, walk the same way to class because they didn't want to mess up anything or whatever. Like exercise, movement, treat it that same way. All right, so every time we're doing a leg exercise, anytime you're doing free weights with your lower body, kinetic chain, hip hinge, execute the rest of the movement. So for squats, that means you're going to have a lot of knee bending occurring. For a deadlift, that means you keep the hips high and back as you bend the knees. If it's a Romanian deadlift, you just keep the hips going back. In lunges, just think about squats with your front leg. I need to do a lunge video for y'all because I haven't done any lunges in a while, and definitely have not recorded them. So let's see this. Let's see what we can do to improve on our squat. I'm liking the tempo. I want to get a little longer pause at the bottom, I'd say. All in all, I'm really liking this squat. I know it's my own squat, right? So, of course, it's just so sexy. Just the perfect squat. But as we've highlighted in other squat videos this morning, head position looks pretty decent. Now, something y'all can't tell, maybe, but I know I was feeling, again, this right shoulder of mine is always the problem side of either I get some irritation in the palm of the hand, or I start feeling all of the load just pressing into that right shoulder as I lose stability within that right side. But I'm going to toot my own horn, man. I don't think that's too shabby of a squat. I think I'm hitting most of the landmarks, right? We look at our parallel lines. Right, that's there. Get that one roughly on my ankle. We got a little bit of a taper, but all in all, that's not so bad. All right, if anything, go from our shoulders this time. About approximate to that hip crease. And go from the knee down to the ankle. Again, fairly parallel. Fairly parallel. Where this gets problems for people, right, is if they shoot their hips up first, what happens? Right, now these parallel bars are no longer parallel. If we shoot our knees back first, right, it's kind of the same thing as the hips shoot up, right? Or again, if you lift up through your back first, right, and heel up that way, right, that's also going to change things. So this is why I find it's important to find appropriately light enough weight where you can stay in yourself and feel yourself down here. I work with this idea that I'm in like a test tube. I'm in an elevator shaft. Straighten out. All right. And I even work with clients where I'll stand right in front of them, right where this yellow line is on the right here. I'll stand there while they're squatting. Awkwardly stand there. Because I want them to have this sense that they're not able to come forward. Like we were talking earlier about calf shortness. If we have brevity in our calves, the heels are going to come up, which means our body's going to rock forward, which means we're no longer staying in the test tube, which means these things are likely out of skew. And so we get that, And then when we decide to stand, right, we're going to generate it from the glutes, from the hamstrings, maybe from the quads. I mean, the quads are going to contribute. Don't get me wrong. Quads are going to, but mentally, I cue myself, I cue clients to push down through the heel with their entire tripod foot. But mentally, I'm thinking of pushing more through my heel as much as I can. Right. And then this is going to activate the posterior chain, the backside, your booty. And as I stand, everything I can do to keep my center of mass, oh, not like that, you fucking line, to go straight up, all the way up. This is one aligned. Well, that was different. But pressing down through the floor such that I can drive straight up and I don't go forward or backwards. If I can do that, man, I got a fucking rockin' squat. And if you can do that, you got a fucking rockin' squat. Goddamn mustard and ketchup all over this screen. And so we unpause this. Oh. Straight up, straight back down. Be like a hydraulic piston. We exhale, pressing straight up, and hip hinge, knee bend back down. Y'all, I gotta take a quick run. Fucking coffee's hitting me. Thus, I gotta take care of that. I'm gonna leave y'all with my boys. Hopefully they keep y'all entertained until I get back. Thanks for hanging out. BRB. Fucking dogs. Switching spots. What up, y'all? I am back. I'm gonna remove that. We are, because I am back. And since it's there, just reminded me of it. If you're looking for a workout plan, I'm not gonna write it for you. Unless you pay me. If you pay me, I'll write it for you. However, we have created a prompt. If you would like it, so that an AI, a large language model prompt, for you to create your own workout. If you just click on the link just click on the link. That's that thing. It's over there. In seriousness, if you are looking for maybe a low cost workout plan, I know there's some guys out there that sell workout plans for as low as maybe $5 or $10, $20 or something. That's great. Maybe you don't have access to that, or it's just not your thing. Check this out. Paul and I put a lot of work into it as far as trying to make it as inclusive and as all encompassing as possible as far as a prompt is concerned. But nothing else. Take it out for a test ride. Let us know what you think. That being said, let's get back into some movements. Movement. Got switch the cameras back. There we go. Oh, not that one. We'll get this one. All right. All right, so working on, again, pullovers. Now, for me, I like to do pullovers with a focus on the lats. And so I'm really emphasizing is a rotation of my elbows in as much as I can, create as much external rotation. And you can test this on yourself, because if you are in this position and you're just laying down and your elbow is rotated wide and go up and over, you'll feel this more in the chest. We go elbows in, you'll feel this more through the lat and less invited through the chest. And all it is, again, based on that rotation, is changing the position of which muscles are more readily available to pull through. And so I like using pullovers. For me, I feel like I got a little bit of a forward tilt on my right shoulder, so it helps go into that. I also find from a macro sense, again, we do a lot of, I do a lot of jujitsu. So I'm in this kind of hunched round over position often. I drive to clients, and then I sit at this computer desk making YouTube videos and other bullshit, right? So I find that that's a good everyday exercise for me and my body. But I like supersetting here where I'm using floor press. So this is working in tangent, or in tandem, if you will. So by using the floor on both these exercises, it gives me a sense of where my shoulders are. But more importantly, on these floor presses, it stops my arms from going too low. You say, well, you got to get the stretch to get the muscles and to do the thing. And yeah, that's true. All that's valid. But when the elbow goes beyond the ribs, the shoulder has to tilt forward. Thus, my chest really isn't doing much at this point. It's all becoming a delt issue anyways. And so for me and my needs and goals, I'm focusing on keeping my shoulders as flat to the ground and the floor as possible. Thus, having the floor there to prevent me from going deeper is what I need, right? That's the money for me, right? This allows me to, again, double down on feeling that serratus anterior, lat, the kind of rib muscles, if you see it that way, or kind of between the lat and your chest, pec muscles. Helping me, again, feel that shoulder blade sit smoothly on the ground and not jabbing into the floor on a soft mat, on a soft cushioned bench. I may not be able to sense that as easily. So that's kind of the why behind these exercise selections for myself. And then the kettlebells versus dumbbells, again, I like because the weight is outside of the arm. It naturally kind of pulls my body into more of an externally rotated position. Thus, I can kind of work with the weights putting myself into that externally rotated position versus constantly trying to fight them in that sense. But again, hits a different stimulus and then helps me again play with this shoulder sense. And I really like it. The other thing I noticed is I didn't have as much of this grip issue. If you've watched any of my other videos, I have a little bit of an issue with my right grip being strong on chest press with dumbbells. The only thing on this was more so is just kind of irritating with the bell on my wrist, just the mass sitting on it, which is very normal, I feel, with kettlebells. But I didn't feel that same sense of fatigue or inability to grip, which I liked. All right. Again, 20 pounds each hand, pretty light for me as far as what the chest is able to commit to or contend with. The bigger issue I was having, I feel, is just general system as a whole being fatigued. And then also, again, trying to fine tune as I'm working on this shoulder, really working on trying to feel a big lengthened or tall chest. I'll commonly call it like ball gown shoulders. You see me kind of fidgeting and fussing. Now, as I'm pressing, I'm really trying to keep my wrist over my elbow as best I can. And then when I press, I'm trying to get all those stacked on top of the shoulder. I'm getting a little far too coming up overhead as it looks. And it's probably me wanting to see my hands in front of my eyes. There's that proprioception things that can get us a lot of times. Where's that damn snippet tool? All right. So ideally, we just need everything here. D-Gen, what up, man? Haven't seen you in a while. Oh, got Naj Mahal rating in. What up? What up? Ah, fuck them. We got Naj Mahal. That's all that matters. And D-Gen. What's going on, y'all? And I haven't been able to make it in your streams lately, D-Gen. I got fucking work. Hello, what am I? Chopped liver? Likewise, how many you doing? How's injury? Likewise, how you doing? How's injury? Oh, I said party of one. Life's good. Life's good. I don't think I have any injuries. If I have them, it's new to me. Life's been good, though. Life's been good trying to... See, we tried doing some streaming on YouTube the other day, which wasn't bad. I don't know if you've tried dipping into that at all. But I use a third-party app to make clips, and it doesn't work well with YouTube, so... Oh, yes. Doggos. So we got Sparky. Yeah, there's Sparky rolling on his back there, and then you can see Blondie's feet here at the very edge. 65 pounds of joy and bliss. I guess that's really 130 pounds of joy and bliss. Oh, there's the dogs. See, we need better to put y'all there. We'll put chat there and see how that does. All right. Let's get back to it, y'all. Yeah, I appreciate it, Naj. Welcome to the Fitness Palace. Oh, we have a Fitness Palace. Oh, D-Gen, you might actually enjoy this. I didn't even think about it until the thing popped up. Paul, he made a LLM prompt, an AI prompt for workouts. So if you want, I know you follow your yoga stuff, but if you're ever interested, you might check that out. Get yourself that and play around with it if you do anything with AIs. Same thing for you, Naj Mahal. You're looking for some workout influence or ideas. Hey, it's more than just make me a workout. So You play around with it. Let me know how you like it. So Naj, Thursday mornings, I focus on exercise reviews, trying to show people how to exercise, if you will. So I consider it exercise education and movement mechanics. Do you have any exercises that you do for yourself and you want some help with, or you maybe have some pain during the movement? Feel free to upload it to our Reddit. Fuck yeah. Thanks, DJin. I upload them on Thursdays. I break them down. I go over a review of them and give you my professional advice as a trainer who focuses on, not letting people be in pain. So right now I'm reviewing my chest press. So this is kettlebells. That's cool. Good form is S tier. Fuck yeah, man. You already know it. You already know it. Can't tell you how many times, like, my own self, little aches, pains, or injuries just from shit form, if you will. And then a lot of my clients, right, we just have a couple of things. We just little adjustments here and there, and it's a brand new fucking exercise. Dude, we haven't done that in a while. I don't think Paul necessarily likes it. I think you and him share that displeasure, DJin. Yes, we are. People are idiots. All right, so looking back at this, we got this yellow line. Oh, I don't know how I did that. We don't want the red box. We want the yellow line. So ideally, right, I need to get my hands more that direction. Now again, there could be a little bit of a taper into this, but anytime we're trying to load or press, chest press, right, we're going to have this sense of our shoulders, our elbows, and our wrists all stacked. That looks not like what I was trying to draw, but we want them all stacked on top of each other. If you think about this, I always go back to Jenga. Y'all ever play Jenga? Am I the only person that's ever played Jenga? Fucking love Jenga. My wife will not play games with me because I'm evidently too competitive. It is the stacking idea of where we're trying to stack things on top, and as long as things stay stacked within themselves, it's very stable, right? But like in Jenga, like things start getting off-centered. Like even if you just had like just 2 blocks all the way up, that would be very stable. Even if it was just 1 block, stable. But it's when they start getting off-centered that thing starts wobbling, and then you get like a dog fart that knocks it over. Very commonly in chest press, and I'm demonstrating it here on accident, when we press, we end up pushing over our face, and we're not actually pressing over our chest. And this is one of those things where our body lies to us in some ways. And so my vision, right, is right through here. And so when the weights are more in this position, right, it senses like I'm not actually doing the lift as correctly or purely or as fully as I think I should, right? So seeing these, let's call it a mistake because I just can't think of a better word right now. But just being aware of these little mistakes, and then on that next set, next rep, next workout, right, we can make those changes. And those little changes over time, right, gets us to that S tier that Naj was talking about. And once we get to that S tier, man, lots of little aches, pains that may have been chronic for us, go the fuck away. Now, we can't see it again because I'm at a lateral view, side view. But if we're looking if you were looking down at my body, right? You're on the ceiling like Spider-Man or some shit. Oh, cool. Ah! This was my torso. Very terrible drawing I get. Right, my arms are going to be about 45 degrees or so outside of my body. And I'm putting these little nubs here, not because my arms are, not because I'm an amputee, but because, right, the wrists are going to be stacked over the elbows. So if I'm laying down, all right, my dome. Hi, guys. All right. Shoulders are stacked, but we want our arms to be about 45 degrees or so. Again, once you get this stuff figured out, you can go to any position you want, and it will hit different muscles. It'll hit different striations. But just trying to have a basis of, like, when you're doing chest press or bench press, right? Trying to find that 45 or so, wrist stacked over the elbows. And from there, we press and try to, again, stack everything, right? So if it was all over the shoulders at the finish. I don't know if in high school, I took this physics class. And when anything was to be coming out of the page, it was a dot. And for anything that was going, am I saying that right? No. Anything that was going into the page, right, was an X. And then anything that was coming out of the page was a dot. And so the idea was, at least the teacher would say, it was like an arrow, right? If you had a bow and arrow being shot at you, when it's coming at you, you would just see the dot. With the archer, they would see the cross of the feathers. Any of it. That's what goes through my mind when I try to draw those things for y'all. So a little better on that last rep there. So here again, we can see where that one's a little more over top of my shoulders, where if we go back, maybe, let's see what this rep does as I'm contemplating life. Not too terrible, but again, we can still see that I feel there's a little bit of that taper occurring, me bringing those hands a little further over the face. I feel like that last one, we did a better job of stopping about chest or collar. So again, just a little bitty. Thank you, DGen. I appreciate that. Making that happen. Now, if you are doing any type of chest press, whether it be kettlebell or dumbbell pressing, and it's not on a rack where you're using like a bar to set it up, and I'm not even showing y'all the fucking camera, huh? All right, but as we bring this back down, I guess even then y'all can't see that fully. But when we're done with any type of chest press work, cannot advise you enough. Throw those weights towards your hips. Get them away from your body that way versus coming up towards your shoulders or out to the side. You know, I've said this before in other videos. On the floor, doing floor presses, these directions are less dangerous. But if you're on a bench and you're having to eject the weights or you're done with your set, always throw them towards your feet. Try to always set them down towards your feet. When we go to these positions, right? I don't think you were here for this, DGen, but I was demonstrating some shoulder dislocations. Right. So the reason why we don't go weights up overhead on a bench or chest press or out to the sides on chest press is for the reason why this is so goddamn difficult with a 10-pound rubber band. Our joints just don't have the strength or the ability to go there. And so if you have, 30 plus pounds, 20 plus pounds, and you're taking your up over here to over your head to try to get that weight away from you, you're going to have a bad time. So when we're doing any type of chest press work or floor press, bench press, and it's with dumbbells, kettlebells, always advise, always encourage you, throw those things out towards your hips and protect yourself. Because there's only one you. All right. Keeping on. So in this one, working some overhead press. It's kind of dopey, I know, but I do this kind of power clean. I just like trying to get the weights into the position with as little, let's call it muscle, and just a little bit of momentum. So here, for me, I'm always really focused on my right shoulder. My left one, I feel kind of goes along for the ride without any issues. But as I've kind of stated before, is this right scapula, my right shoulder blade has some winging, so that pops off the shoulder a little bit. And so today on this video, that day actually, I was actually feeling very well connected to my right delt. And I feel that's connected with just the order of exercises I was doing that day. And so if we go kind of down that journey, I started off with back squat, which is a big external rotator of the shoulders. Just by virtue of that bar being on my back, it kind of spatchcocks my ribs. So there's that aspect. After which I went into, I think, the pullovers. All right, so again, lengthening into some of these tight tissues, into my shoulders. And then I supersetted that with the chest press and really worked on trying to be broad and wide through the chest. So then when I came into these overheads, it's kind of like I kind of pre-cooked was it like reverse searing something, like you pre-cooked it and then you sear it. So I pre-cooked everything with those other things, and then I came back through and seared my shoulders with the overhead pressing. If you want to kind of think about it like that. Is that the correct way of using that analogy there, D-Gen? Now, things for me, again, to be mindful of, and you'll notice, is I don't always get a full lockout in my elbows. And it's chefology. There you go, close enough. Now, I'm really, again, trying to be... Elbows do need a lockout. It'd be great to lock them out, but I don't want to lock them out at the expense of my shoulder joint. Right here at Range Fitness, we try to make fitness relatable to you. The thing that I'm always kind of grading myself on when it comes to these overhead presses is this right in here. Right? Is that space. Does this space look even? Or does it seem like there's a little bit more material, tissue, t-shirt, or whatever, kind of blocking that up? Right. And so as I press my elbow up, again, I was talking about calves earlier and squats. But if I'm clumped up here, as I press up, this clumpiness, right, it just stays short and connected, if you will. And it doesn't allow for this space to occur as I'm trying to press up. Now, there is part of it, like your upper chest does participate a little bit within that. But by and large, a lot of us are just have that shoulder kind of frozen for lack of a better phrase right now. And thus, if we're going to create movement, movement's going to happen. And if we can't restrict it, right, then it just takes over. She tells me to try to keep the space of an orange there all the time for the most part. Yep. That's a good visual, right? Trying to keep space of an orange or softball on either side of our shoulders. Other things I look at, maybe that's hard for you to see, or again, maybe you don't have a mirror or a camera for yourself, so you just can't see that shit. Every time I look at it, it's there, right? But you can look in and take an observation of your elbows. Right, where are our elbow tips pointing? You could use your thumbs. Like which way are your thumbs rotated? Texans. God damn it, y'all. Y'all ain't from around here, are y'all? The other day, Paul was talking about it's one of the most dangerous things you can hear in the desert or What's one of the most dangerous things you can hear in the forest? Yeah, that's what he was saying. Something about one of the most dangerous things you can hear in the forest, and I think it had something to do with like an animal noise or something. He was, I said, no, sir. You know what the most dangerous thing you can hear in the forest is? Dude, interrupt, Naj. I am just here for y'all. Like, this is purely for anybody that comes through. I just highlight mine because, well, I'm a struggling new content creator, so no one's here other than the DJ typically. What you got, Naj? Here and there, here and there. I always have my two best viewers. I'm following now, so I'll ask all the questions. Come on. But the most dangerous thing you can hear in the forest is a banjo. If they come from DJing, I know they're good. DJing got good people. Let's see. The DJing, what you been up to? We wait for Naj here. Last I heard, you were in between jobs. Banjos and ukulele in the desert. Practicing for pull-ups and handstands. When I do incline pull-ups on Smith bar, I get a super sharp pain in the right wrist. Okay. Yeah. Pull-ups, incline pull-ups. Rowing. So there'd be a couple of things I'd be interested in. It being pull-ups is interesting. I don't hear that wrist pain in pull-ups very often, but that doesn't mean it's not a simple fix. I try to readjust my wrist outward or around shoulders, but still get some from time to time. So by far the easiest way I could help you is, feel free, if you can, video it and put it on Range or Reddit. When I get to the top of the movement, over top. Yeah, so if that's the case, it might very well be you're rolling the shoulder or winging a bit. Yeah, if you're okay videotaping yourself, we have a subreddit, Range Fitness Online. That's where I'm viewing all this right now. Oh, yes, DJ, you might enjoy this. But feel free. What angles? That's a good question. I'd say at least one from behind you. And then if you're able to, a lateral view of your hand or wrist, if that's achievable. Those would be the big ones I'd like to see. Now, that being said, if we just, let's peel it back and just, in a simple sense, right? Maybe it cleans up pretty quick. Appreciate it. Thank you. That's awesome. So this is, me doing another pullover, and I think push-ups, as I try to wiggle my way into camera view. And I get it, when you're rowing, it's harder to do this, but having this sense of that flat back against the floor, kind of see with her when she rows. Right. And even her, we can see a little bit of that, the shoulders want to tilt a little bit forward. But having that sense that we're pulling through that mid back and reaching the chest through on there. Dude, I'm going to have to calm down these goddamn auto bots. Now, other little things for you to take note, Naj, is when you are pulling, are we doing do we have a thumb grip, a full thumb grip over the bar? Is your thumb on top? And then are we pulling through our index finger, ring finger, index finger, middle finger, or are you pulling with your pinky ring finger? So those are just going to be other little things maybe to kind of play with. And you had said it didn't make a difference, right? So if you did palms up, palms down, did you notice how that changed? So a little bit of you think of it as I've tried both to see how it feels, but we'll make note when I get into the gym. And so and this is where it can be a little muscle imbalances. I look at it, let's see, I see muscle imbalances or the way to get out of pain is first, are we in just a kind of chronic or constant pain? So like sitting right here while you're watching, that's okay, man. That's okay. 215, you're all right. And if that's the case, there's other ways we can reduce, so to speak, the mass that you're working with, such that you can still recruit the muscles and you're not over challenging the system. So I've been working with clients on some single leg step ups and step downs, right? And so there's only so much mass that we can eliminate. If I have dumbbells, I can just give you lighter dumbbells. I mean, I could chop your leg off, but you probably wouldn't come back. So if we're doing body weight calisthenics type things, sometimes it's about either finding a way to offload enough intensity to where we can still achieve the movement where we're not overstressing. It'd be kind of like towing something and it's just a little too heavy for the vehicle. Like you can tow it, but the bumper might bow or the chain links might stretch out a little bit, but you towed it. That's a little bit of what you're dealing with. So how we get out of it? First off, make sure you're not in chronic pain, right? So just, again, being in pain, if that's the case, we got to put that fire out first. Then we're going to, again, identify what is overactive or shortened. I know I'm wearing a black shirt, so it's kind of hard to see. But if I were to clump up the front of my shirt here, right, it pulls material from the back over to the front. And if I'm really tight through this and I try to lift my arm, I can feel restrictions of my shirt as I lift my arm, right? In some positions, I don't really feel much restriction, but in other positions, I'll feel more of that restriction. So in a nutshell, right, we got to get that to open up so that way I can move that limb freer. Thus, I can then train the other muscles. So the analogies today are amazing. So it's not so much stretching is the fallacy. It's stretching or training muscles in a lengthened position. So if potentially without seeing you, if you have a forward tilted shoulder, we need to identify what's causing the forward tilt. So it could be your pec minor, so something in the chest. It could be your lat, pulling that shoulder forward. It could be a couple of things in that regard. We identify that, we get those things to train in a tilted back position. So something, if that were your case, that's where like these pullovers would be an awesome exercise because they work on, again, tilting the shoulder back into the socket to a very crude example. And then we're working on all these things in this really long position. Yeah. Exactly. You're seeing it. And so trying to open and expand your ribs and your abdominals. DGen brought up dead bugs. Dead bugs would be another really good exercise for you to connect all of that together. Right? Because when we're sitting here, we just plop in our chair. Right? I know you can't quite see it from my lateral camera. But we're just short in the tummy and we're short in the ribs. Or other people do it the other way, right? Their chair might be really scooted back and they sit on the edge of their seat and they have that real hyper extended posture. And then they have that over tilting of the hips forward. All right. So depending on where we're at, we develop those habits. When we work out, I think of it as balancing the scales. I just had a brain blast. Hopefully that's a good thing. So we open up what's tight. So for you, what'd you call yourself? Goblin posture. All right. We want to, again, train your stomach and your ribs in a lengthened position. Then we can start training your back musculatures in a shorter position. Yeah, it just made me realize why I'm struggling with shoulders too. Yeah, it'd be, again, it's the sense of you're trying to pull something out of the mud and it's just stuck in there, and so you just keep trying to goose it versus going out there and digging some mud off of the shit. Paul, you may not have met Paul yet, Naj, if this is your first stream with us. But Paul, he calls it, every muscle has 3 opposing forces it's got to work against. The first one's going to be the weight of the limb. I guess, which camera am I using? The weight of the limb, right? So if we're talking, let's use biceps just for an easy example. My bicep has to lift the weight of, thank y'all, I much appreciate it. My bicep has to lift the weight of my forearm, right? So it has to work that. If I'm holding something external, like a cup of coffee, and I'm bringing that, my bicep has to work against that as well. That one's a pretty, oh yeah, no duh. The weight of the limb, we sometimes don't really think about, like, that's a smart ass answer, right? The one thing that I don't think anybody ever thinks about is the opposite muscle. And so in this analogy of bicep bending to bring us a water or just to bend your elbow, it has to work against the tricep. So if our tricep is always on and we're in this locked elbow position, right, you would never be able to bend the elbow. It would just be in this frozen position. Whereas if the tricep was never on, you would be in this constant bent position, and for you to ever straighten your elbow, you would have to pry that fucker open. So let's take it back into a body, right? We're collapsing our stomachs and our ribs. Well, these muscles are just trained to be in the short position, and thus when we try to go anywhere else, they stay in that short position, and so our whole body moves, or again, that we get these compensatory motions, and it's really tough for us to ever extend. Or if you do, it's at the expense of elsewhere, right? We're having to make compensations elsewhere in our body in that kinetic chain to be able to express, because I think of it as, I said I did physics. I was learning about this the other day. Again, two damn stars aligned. Paul and I, we sometimes be having these, we just meet up once a month and just kind of talk about clients or things we'd be seeing. And it was weird that, man, we'd have just droves of like the same shit show up. Like all of a sudden, everybody we were dealing with, all these new clients or current clients, man, we got forward tilted shoulders out the yin yang, or everybody this month got low back pain. Just funny how sometimes those things line up for us. So when we're trying to establish balance, right? Bicep needs to pull when the tricep loosens. Tricep needs to squeeze as it extends, and that bicep needs to loosen. If we don't have that harmony, we're going to feel pain. Something about low back pain with squats being caused because glutes aren't strong enough and connected muscles and shit. Yes. So very commonly, right, in that regards, is people lack core control. Yeah. Yep, the kinetic chain or your core. I listen even if I can't explain it. No, that's how we do it though, right? I always say is if you can teach somebody a thing, right, then you really know it. And when even if you're struggling to explain the concepts, like you're still working it, you're still massaging it for yourself to better understand it. And once you got that and you can spell it out, then you really know it. And again, you're able to share that knowledge. So ain't no shame. Fucking been here all week. A weak core is the first thing to improve when coming from a sedentary. Yep. Naj, I like that. A sedentary core. I'm not dyslexic. You're dyslexic. Been hearing all week. A weak core is the first thing to improve when coming from a sedentary lifestyle. Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm going to really change these fucking goddamn auto mods. And why is that, right? Because the core is your foundation. Everything builds out from that. And if Again, I know y'all just hopped in here, but to start a stream today, I was going over a squat, and I got it in like I normally do into the fucking weeds about shit. But when I'm setting up, like even beforehand, I've already kind of engaged my core. I've already thought about drawing into my navel and getting a neutral spine. Yeah, I got to move myself underneath this bar and get set. And then once I'm there, again, I'm double checking. Is my core engaged? And when I say core, this isn't just like, this is everything from my hips to my rib cage, like the core of my body, right? And from there, movement only goes as far as I'm able to keep that connected. All right. So Naj, you got shoulder issues and this rib stuff. Try dead bugs if you know what dead bugs are. Right? If you've been watching DJing, then you probably are familiar with them. But I bet you, right, if you get down and laying on the floor with your knees over your hips and you have your hips, low back, and shoulders on the ground, and you try to reach out, you are going to feel so much fucking struggle in the stomach. You will very likely feel the desire to let go of the belly, arch your back, just so we can get to that long position. And then when we come back in, you'll probably feel a lot of achiness and work in the back. But if you can think about that sucking in the belly, like we're going to ostracize everybody right now. But if you got yourself a femdom stepping on your stomach with some high heels, and that thing is just keeping you down on the ground, and then you try the dead bug, right? But you want to have like this sense of just, you are anchoring yourself to the floor through that midsection. Keeping yourself to the floor, and only go so far as you can create that position or create that effort. And then if you have to let go, then you're going too far. Then you've got to build from there. That's your jumping point or your building point. Got everybody lost with a femdom, huh? All right. Dude, my wife will not. I tried to get her to do jiu-jitsu. She does not want to deal with people's sweat. Whatever floats your boat. I don't judge. Dude, I'm just about giving ideas, connecting images. Well, maybe just a bit. Gotta judge if it's good for you, right? All right. Got a few more minutes here before I got a boogie, so we're going to try to blast through these a little bit. Again, Naj, DJing, something catches your eye, stop me, and I'll go over it. So earlier I did some dumbbell curls. And for me, I need to do more curls. Not for any real hypertrophic or size issues. My right arm, I can get very straight. My left arm, it's not so bad nowadays, but I broke my left arm when I was 18, 19 years old, and I didn't know shit. And so for the longest, my left elbow was actually in a semi-bent position. This is an extreme version. But in any event, as the brachialis, I was talking about all this balancing and stuff. So I had a cast, right, that kept me in this bent elbow position for probably about 2 or 3 months, maybe. Plus, I just didn't really use the arm very often. I stayed in that bent position frequently. And it's probably like that for years before I ever met Paul, and he helped me understand what the fuck was actually going on. And so that is the reason why I actually need to do more often curls, is to help strengthen this left bicep complex in a lengthened position. And then my right side, actually, for whatever reason, it just may be my own life, but it actually is a little hyperextension. I can get a little bit overextended where it almost sucks up and in. And so working on training this bicep in more of a shortened position. What is that? Come on now. You know exactly what it is, DJ. There you go. Cha-cha-cha-cha-cha-chata. I guess I forgot the T in chaturanga. I just call it chararanga. Chararanga. It's new Pokemon. Charanga. I love goddamn chaturanga planks, man. So to this exercise selection. So again, shoulders, I'm really focused on the shoulders engaged. And so even down here, what the fuck am I doing? I'm not presenting myself. What I'm actually doing is before I put tension in the cables, I'm engaging my upper back, my mid back, getting all of that organized. And then I'm using my legs to pull and lift the weight up, kind of like a deadlift almost, or I guess more of a squat. And so the sense is if I'm all extended and lengthened out, and then I'm trying, it's not the end of the world probably for bicep curls, but like on rowing, right? You want your shoulders to be set. You want to be in a strong position. If you're already in this really lengthened position and then you try to pull, you're going to have you're going to have a crappy setup, and you're not going to get the best execution you're going to be able to get. So cable curls here. In cable, nice thing about cables, or the different thing about cable, right, is it's always a constant tension on that vector. All right, so even on this one, if I give myself a little bit of a hip hinge, it hits a little bit different because of that angle. And then D-Gen, you caught it. Because of that right shoulder thing I've been kind of going on about, I wanted to do something to help build in there, kind of work some of that mobility aspect. So this is about 30 seconds is what I'm trying to go for. Yeah, 30, about. And then from here, what I'm actually focused on is pulling my shoulder blades together. I'm trying to make sure I'm in a good plank position, that I don't sag my hips or sway my back. But my big focus right now is just this pulling my shoulders down away from my ears, pulling my shoulder blades together. And even in my mind's eye, I'm thinking a little bit about specifically that right shoulder and trying to roll it back. Other little mental cues that I'm thinking about in this, besides, FML, these elbows. This is what I mean, like exercise, like if you have the mental ability, the mental RAM is how I like to call it, random access memory. But if you're able to kind of bounce your mind through some of these landmarks and just check in on them, and you don't have to know them all at the beginning, right? You learn some big blocks, and then it's just like anything else. You just start adding mods to it or connections to it. So first and foremost, it's about, again, the core engagement, making sure my hips are being supported through my stomach, right? That I'm not clenching my glutes. I'm not trying to hold rocks with my ass cheeks. I'm not over swaying in my back, right? The sense of my stomach engaged in that dead bug. If you're familiar with Big Bean, I always get so fucking wrong. Your name's so wrong. Bowser Big Bean Burrito. How are we doing? My favorite emoji communicator. Seeing the puppos, the pups. Whoa now, Bowser. Whoa there. It's a little. I don't know what to make of these emojis. So while I'm in this, again, my big focus for me is, again, pulling those shoulders back and even a little tilt of the shoulders down. Now, other things that I'll pass my mind through while I'm here. Elbow position. Again, I'm not bringing the arm down, but I am trying to create a rotation through the shoulder, kind of a corkscrew. All right. And this all goes back to, again, externally rotating of these shoulders, keeping the shoulders peeled back. Now, the other thing I think, and this you can apply to high plank as well, is my hand positioning. I am pushing as hard as I can through the base knuckles, while having the idea that I'm lifting the heel of my hand off the floor. So Naj, if you're still around and you do any type of high planks or push-ups and you get wrist pain, this is commonly where I see wrist pain, is we have, again, a forward tilt shoulder. We have shoulder instability, and that goes all the way into our wrist when we're doing push-ups. And so working this sense of activity of pushing, actively pushing through these base knuckles of our hand, not dumping all the weight into the heel of the hand. Right. And you'll see that a lot of time when people doing push-ups, they make these little caves with their hands. Right, let's see if I can try to do push-ups and they do this stuff. Justin Bailey, what's up? Thank you for the chat. Honestly, don't remember the last time I did push-ups. For me too. Again, everybody's got different reasons why. But for me, I don't do a lot of push-ups either. I forget about them. Especially being in a gym environment, it's easy to forget about like the most iconic exercise, I think, for most, at least for most males. Maybe American males, because, well, that's what I am. Yeah, exactly. People do bench press instead of chest. Or I do dumbbells and kettlebells instead. But one thing I find that is hugely missed from doing push-ups. I want to be a calisthenics girly. Hey, that's cool. Calisthenics are badass. It just takes forever to be good at them. But bench press, anything that we hold like shit in our hands, right? It's always closed grip. We're always closed grip. You're rowing, you're grabbing, you're pulling. You're doing chest press, you grab the bar, the kettlebell, the dumbbell, whatever, and you're pushing. Every exercise, damn near, you're grabbing hold and squeezing. Fucking push-ups, you don't. Push-ups, right, is a full open palmed exercise. And there's not many exercises that we do that offer that. And so that's why I like to kind of, that's one reason I kind of slap myself around and be like, gotta get this shit back in underway. Especially in some of my hobbies, right? Depending on, like let's say you do a lot of golf or tennis, or again, like me, I practice I play jujitsu. I roll jujitsu. I don't know. I do the jujitsu thing. I roll around in a bathrobe and choke other men out, right? They typically choke me. But in any case, it's a lot of just like grabbing and grip work. And so what do we do to off balance? How do we reestablish that balance? Commonly, again, like Justin says, like we do bench press and we think, yeah, I need to stay healthy and active, so I'm going to keep doing bench because, it's good for shoulders. I'm real mindful of my shoulders. I'm mindful of all this other shit. But then we go back out and everything we do is just like hand grip issues. And the next thing you know, you may be getting finger pains. You may get some hand pains, but it's all this shit. And we never do anything to help it. What's something you can do? Like, Justin, you seem like you've pretty active. That checks out, but a lot of my hobbies involved don't have a lot of flat open palms, right? So how do we counteract this? Especially if you like bench press. And I ain't going to sit here and tell you not to fucking bench press. The only time I tell you to do that is if it's causing you pain. And how do we do something that doesn't add like a whole nother exercise or another fucking workout? You be that dude at the end of the bench, just 99, 100, 1,000. I mean, you could do something like that, right? But the way I go about it, right, besides something like push-ups, is during my cool down. After every one of my workouts, I spend 3 to 5 minutes and I just lay on my fucking back and breathe. And during that time, I try to open my palms and just let my hands be as broad as I can. I even do weird shit. Like if I notice my thumb doing that kind of a thing, I'll try to lay the thumb flat. And again, just trying to be as broad into my palm as I can. And so this can be stuff like you lay and you can be just working on your breathing and cactus arms. And again, working those big, broad hands. You can go into T arms with your arms out straight. But just taking that final 2 or 3 minutes of your workout and allow your heart rate to come down, allow your breathing to come down. And then just do some slight, not heavy stretching, nothing that's going to make you hold your breath or anything, but just try to let some of these tensions out of the body. Do grip strength workouts. I have one for opening my hand and one for closing. And I consider piano practice as a workout as well. Same for the grip strength, mostly forearms. Yeah. Awesome, Justin. I mean, I play a little guitar, right? And it's a similar but different, right? Because like my left hand becomes all this shit of just like squeeze and collapsing. My right hand is like it's pick work. Or if I'm doing it, if I try to like pretend like I'm good, like I can play some finger picking, but it's a little different. Now, piano's cool. I like piano. Piano's what would you? I guess I've given away my answer, but what would you think is like the best musical instrument for a balanced body? If we're gonna pick one, I would say piano. I need to God damn it, Justin. The fucker works out, plays piano, and needs to relearn guitar. Justin, I think you're too cool for us. I like the idea of piano, though, right? Because it gives you a sense of being able to have a good posture. You're being ambidextrous with both hands, and get the hell out of here. Or is that the equalizer? But piano again allows you to again put yourself. Now you can adjust the seat a little bit, and yeah, the pedals are going to be at a fixed height or depth from you. Cello or large pipes. See, my counter to that though is almost all instruments require an asymmetry. Yeah, tube. No doubt, right? For strength and conditioning. But again, it's all on one side, right? That tuba sits on one side of the body. And so we're going to have one joint that's going to be in, if I'm thinking right, like I'm thinking maybe French horn, but right, there's going to be that one shoulder that's likely going to be internally rotated to be able to carry. And then the other arm going to be up over here doing whatever. And then again, if it is something, right, like I guess that tuba is the one that goes across the body, right? Right, so you're going to have even this asymmetry to how the body sits. It may even be your ribs sit kind of funky or different. Guitar, maybe if you played classic guitar, it's a little more benign, right? Because you have your foot posted up a little bit to where you're actually putting your knee on that groove of the guitar body. And that allows a little bit more of a natural position for the shoulder. But yeah, the giant drum they walk around beating. That one's probably not too shabby if they have the strength for it, right? Because if you watch a lot of those drummers, right, they have to lean way back to get it, to be able to have that counterbalance and be able to walk for a fucking hour or 15 minutes or whatever. Not against it. I like that idea. It's just, can we stay in that forward-leaning posture and engaged while playing and not falling forward? Yeah, even the beat of that drum would be good as far as for shoulders, because you could work on this as like an external rotation kind of a thing and have some balance to it as well. I like your thinking on that one. Percussions, I find, would probably be, if it's like a single percussion instrument, you could probably get away with being fairly balanced. Yep. But again, this is getting a little nuanced, right? Because there's always going to be, right? You're going to have the one that's, and then you have your other. So again, the way we hold the drumsticks are going to be a little bit different. Hell yeah. Because, I mean, you think about it, I sweat my ass off playing guitar. I can only imagine just like, right? And then you're carrying that kid on you as well. Fuck no. That's why I always kind of come back to, like, I think piano, right? Or even xylophone or the PVC pipe guys with the silicone spatulas, right? Those would have potentially the most non-negative effects to our body as far as habituations or any of that kind of stuff. So I just, again, even when I play guitar, right, my right shoulder, the one that I got all my fucking problems with, right, it goes into that forward tilt. So if I'm spunky and I'm thinking about it, right, after I get done playing for a little bit, I might actually switch and put my guitar the other way. I don't fucking play. I don't do anything. I sit there and watch YouTube in that position. But it's just giving me a chance for that shoulder to sit backwards. So all this going back to is like, if we're working out a lot, when we have a bunch of closed grips, or maybe we just notice like maybe our hands, like it's hard for us to open our hands even after our workout. If you've done it, you know it, right? But working on trying to open those up and then just peel yourself out, allow it back down. Yeah, my forearms feel like they're on fire after playing piano, especially stuff. But I'm not drenched in sweat like a drummer. Well, you're also probably not playing out on a football field. Well, I don't know where you are from, Justin, but I'm in Texas, so like, when you talk about marching bands, man, it is August. It's about 90 degrees outside with about 100% humidity. So anybody, I step outside and I sweat. Strum my guitar for about 5 minutes, I sweat. All right. Got a few more minutes. Let's get it. Oh, Bailey, appreciate you. Thank you for the follow. Let's look at these tricep press downs if we haven't already been singing them. Whoop. All right. So first things first. Set your core. Get yourself ready for the exercise. I know we're talking a lot about the hands here, and this just kind of happens. Tricep press down. Still keep a grip. Still keep a grip. I didn't have time for marching band when I was in school because I played football and football. We have a footballer in the group. Again, Justin just proving one more reason why he's too cool for us. Motherfucker works out, plays musical instruments, played international sports. Oh, there it is. He's from Ohio, though. Okay, we won't hold that against him. And summer gets stupid hot and winter stupidly cold. I have not spent much time in the Midwest of America. I spent one week in Nebraska, and that was enough for me. Football and football are my favorite sports. I played soccer. I was goalie. Granted, I was the one white kid on my team, and the coach coached in Spanish a lot of the time. So goalie was just like a natural fit for me, just to not have to know the language. Plus, I liked it a lot better. I was not a very good soccer player. I can't do that running, dribbling, and looking up. It was one or the other. I was going to be looking at my feet. What's soccer? Soccer, I barely even knew her. All right. Tricep press downs. Get them thumbs around there, or at least your fingertips. This is going to do a couple of things for us important for the exercise, not just me being someone's mom or dad about like, you're going to hurt yourself. Granted, that thing comes up off your hands and comes flying up and slaps you in the jaw. Probably not a great time. Not what you're trying to work out. Keep your teeth in your mouth. But get the thumbs or the fingertips on there, because as we get that extension, right, you see the handle roll out of her hand, right? And we want to get a full extension on the elbow if we can, right? And if we're worried about that handle rolling out of there, it's not going to be great. Or we're going to do some weird wrist motion, right? We're going to have to bend at that wrist to keep that tension so the handle doesn't go out. So that's the biggest thing I see off the jump here is just make sure you get your grip. What is soccer? Is it like football? I mean, you can do the dribbling without looking down. It just requires a lot of time. Well, that was the problem. I didn't do a lot of the time or the practice. So we had someone in here earlier, Naj, talking about some shoulder stuff. This is another one of these exercises where we can let it just be about triceps, and we can forget about the entire body and just really get a big tricep pump. But our triceps are connected to something, and it's called your shoulders. And so we want to make sure we're engaging those shoulders, keeping the shoulders back. And so they're doing a really good job here. Again, a broad chest, the shoulders are back. We can see again that core staying engaged, trying to be lengthened into the abs. Does this make it more tiring? Yes. But it's building, again, to Justin's point. It's going to be tough to start out that way. You go light enough weight for it. But then once you start practicing these habits and these being aware of where your body is in relation to itself, this stuff becomes a lot easier and you can start playing something. Yeah, see how we lose the weight there a little bit. Now, taking it to this exercise, I would encourage more elbow bend. How high can we bring those wrists? All right. And the higher those wrists come, you'll actually probably find that you can get your shoulders into a better position, right? Where you get a little more contraction between the shoulder blades. And then from there, just like a bicep curl, right? We want to get all the way to that near locked out position at the bottom and then control it as it comes back up. And so things that you can do is give yourself a little hip hinge to where you're getting a little bit more tangentially down on this anchor. But I would just, again, really try to let that weight bring you as high up there as you can and then pressing it down. Took me a year of taking a ball everywhere with me before I could dribble without looking down at the ball. Yeah, absolutely. And to that point, Justin, that's how I coach people with pain. Not take a soccer ball with them or a football with them wherever they go, but we find rituals we already have and we tag on the new behavior to that ritual. So what I use very commonly for myself is when I had a hip imbalance. Felt like I had an ice pick shoved into my left hip. When I learned of an exercise that helped ease the pain and restore movement for me, that became what I did when I fed and watered my dog. And then that became what I did when I'd pick my shoes up off the floor. And that became what I did when I picked up, trash or other random shit off the ground. And next thing I know, everywhere I went and I needed to pick something up off the ground, I was doing this little single leg hinge, which was my rehab, so to speak, for my hip imbalance. And so just like that, right? If we're trying to build on a skill or improve on something, right, we got to find every chance we can to get those reps to build that skill. And y'all play, was it Oblivion? Elder Scrolls? Yeah. That game blew my fucking mind when I leveled up for walking around. You just walk in the world and all of a sudden, athletics, level up. Running, level up. It's like, what the fuck? Stealth, leveled up. What the That's fucking life. Like, I know it's a game, but that's life. Yeah, swimming. Just fucking I'm picking your nose. You'd probably get some XP in that game. So, does that get a little bit overwhelming and daunting? Yes, it can be. But just finding those little things to polish. So when we're in a gym, you're training movement. Or at least that's the way I look at it. If you're trying to train for a powerlifting meet, or you're trying to train for a PR, I'm probably not your coach. If you're having pain during the movements, or you're not sure how to do the movements, I'm your guy. But everything we do, right, is we're building skills. Finding stuff to do constantly is the best way to train, in my opinion. Yeah. Like when I wanted to learn MMA and work on my jab, I would do a lot of things left-handed. For football, I would do things that I still do to this day, like holding a door open with my feet and not my hands. Yeah. In jiu-jitsu, I do similar stuff because we have to use our feet in a way like you would use your hands. And so like we have a little lever on my front door. So I'll pick my foot up and slap that thing to kick it in. I use husband as punching bag. Yeah, there's that. Yeah. See, DJin had something about that. DJin, even with all the XP and Oblivion, easiest way to kill shit was to make them hit other people. Dude, DJ, do you ever watch the Spiffing Briff on YouTube? If you haven't, you should check him out. He does a lot of he did a lot of don't think so. He's all about fair and balanced. He does a lot of Oblivion, or he did a lot of Oblivion content and Elder Scrolls content of just silliness, bugs of the game, and what have you. All right, seed to cable row. Got about 10 minutes. All right. I should just run up to people, to those. I should just run people into those pirates. Make them hit a pirate, and then like 5 pirates come and kill them. So I didn't fuck up Oblivion. I think I probably played Oblivion like most everybody. Who played the story? Like, how did y'all complete the story? Did you just follow the main story quest? Never finished it back in the day or recent. So sometimes I feel like just going to the gym, so I hop on here and watch people working out or talking about it, and then I feel bad for not going. No. Dark Brother, Thieves Guild, I got you. Speaking of how to run the gym, about to run to the gym now. I can go get it, Justin. And have some grace on yourself, man. All right, we all got things we need to do, and we all got things we should do. Well, some days it just doesn't happen. Get after it, man. And again, appreciate you joining us. Thank you for the follow. Hope to see you around. Go get that XP now. All right, looking at these rows. I like again how she's set up on this. All right, so she starts in real close, gets some tension in the upper back before we lift the stack, and then you see her press with the legs to drive away. All good stuff. All right. Now there's, again, all kinds of different ways of doing rows and what have you. Depends on what you're trying to engage, what your goals are. Now no problem. If you're still here when I'm done, I'll wander back in. Well, unfortunately, Justin, I will not be. I got my own shit to do too. But DGen, you might be streaming later today. I know DGen does some afternoon streams. But again, thank you for coming by, man. Good luck out there. So sometimes you'll see people do this almost like a good morning exercise. And what I mean by that is they'll hinge at the hips all the way down, and then they come back up. And again, this is a way to work that low back. It is a way to work your entire erectors in that manner. Just how smooth are you going and how controlled are you going would be the things I'd be focused about. Now, if we're just trying to work our lats, right, then we want to sit up as tall as we can, sucking the navel in. I would even try a little crunch forward. Doesn't need to be huge, but just trying to put a little bit of length. And I feel like as we see here as she's sitting, you're not having a lateral view to get a complete comparison. But to my eye, I feel like we're a little overextended in the low back. And maybe it's not so terrible, but I think the coolest part is she actually uses a fitness journal. It looks, oh yes, she does. And you see it right down there. Her little logbook. This right here is what I'm a little concerned. It's making sure we are still engaging our stomach, drawing in from the navel side, which again would create a sense of a rounded back, which isn't so bad. And then we would then lengthen into that erect spine. Again, this can be one of those things where I feel it can be a little overwhelming if you're new or just trying this out for the first time. And this is why I always go back to the concept or the idea of the kinetic chain. So we're always mindful of the kinetic chain, and think about engaging the core as a part of this, right? We'll end up in good positions. We'll be ending up in places of success. And the more you practice it, the more you start learning, oh, that's not what I'm feeling for. Oh, this feels different this time. And then so Degen, she's got her fitness journal here. If you do have a fitness journal, you can go back and be like, fuck, this workout really hit hard for me. Like, this really hit good. What was it? Maybe you can go back and connect some dots for yourself. Oh, I need to do more of this in my life. Or, this one actually left me feeling kind of not so great. Why is it? What was going on? So all of that. But if you're having a hard time with like, how do I engage my core? What does engaged core mean? Cat-cow. Cat-cow, I think, is by far one of the most underutilized and yet greatest tools one can use to help learn how to engage their core. You can do it right now if you're just sitting. Right? You don't have to be on your hands and knees. Degen loves cat-cow. Fuck yeah. And he should. But like, even just sitting here. All right, we can suck into our belly, round our back out. Hold that sucked in feel. And then sit up as tall as you can against the tightness of your abs. And yeah, I'm talking a little funny for effect in some regards. But if you are properly holding that navel in and lengthening into your abs, it is no joyride. Like, it is not easy to be there. And again, like we were talking earlier, Naj, right? We spend so much time in this collapsed stomach effort, but we actually don't ever contract. We just sit and just be like, and like put it in a bowl. Rather, draw into that navel and try to be as tall as we can. I'll say like that Superman chest or Wonder Woman chest. Trying to get our ball gown shoulders out and being as broad as we can left to right. Sitting at your desk doing your job, I get it. Not something I would really encourage you, because as soon as anything shiny happens, squirrel, right? We're going to go back into our habit. Not to say it's not good to try it from time to time, but I would not waste the mental faculties per se. It's when we're training. It's when we're working out. It's when we're taking maybe 2 to 3 minutes to focus on some corrective exercises to offset our imbalances. That's when we really want to hammer that shit. So for here in this seated row, the big thing I'd want to make sure, even though we press back, is making sure we draw into that core and we lengthen into the abs. And so that way we're not overextended. Let me wear a black shirt and sit in front of a goddamn black chair. Now, how do you know maybe if you're doing this right or wrong? That'd probably be the other thing that'd be important. Fucking teach it. I don't even want to know. I don't even want to know. Oh, no black shirts for stream, right? Just blends in. Just slide to the left here. Let's show all my dandruff, huh? Or any nose candy. All right, where the fuck was it? Lost my train of thought. So how do you know if maybe you're not engaging your core too well? Is if you're finding maybe you feel some acuteness. And this is, again, pain is not a bad thing. Like, pain isn't great to have persistent and chronic, but like little bits of pain, not so bad. If we pay attention to them. Again, looking at this, we can kind of see where the shirt's kind of bunching up, the sports ball's kind of bunching up here. And that's kind of what's leading me to that sense of maybe we're a little overly short through this position. And especially since we're trying to pull through there, it's easy to even go more hyper contracted into that. And so what people may notice is that maybe you feel some pain back in this position, like something pinchy, like just something not quite right in the back. You may find that, again, you actually can draw in your core more than you realize you could. But I think the bigger sense that's going to get your attention is you will feel an asymmetry, or again, you'll feel less of a broad work, right? So if everything is working good for a lat, right, you're going to be feeling, this area really engaged. You'll feel a lot of work back in through here. You may feel some out in that complex. But if we're uneven or we have some asymmetries into that way the shoulder's moving, you may just feel all of the work like right there or somewhere else within the body, right? It just feels like everything is coming in through that one spot. That's the case, right? For this example, I would encourage a little bit of a crunch forward. That way we get a little bit of length back in through here. If this is happening to you mid-set, you may find that, doing a little bit of a gentle stretch. We're not trying to do one of these big yoga things, but just a gentle lengthening out, creating some space, maybe even doing some dead bugs, maybe even doing a slight twist, and then going back into it and seeing how it's changed. Exercise, again, I think is a big experiment. There are some like known processes, not even experiments, kind of like cooking in a lot of cases. Like you get a workout, and a workout, all it is a recipe, right? You have maybe a desired goal or outcome, and so there's certain recipes that might be geared for those outcomes and results. But there's going to be little tricks that you learn throughout, right? Like the other day I was talking to somebody, and it was like, you want to bake a cake? Well, you need flour. Well, what kind of flour, right? Do you sift the flour, or do you just throw the flour in there? Do you need to add any? Is it like all-purpose flour, or is it self-rising flour? Right? Maybe it calls for all-purpose flour or self-rising flour, but you just have all-purpose flour, but you got some baking soda. You can make it work, right? But you have to experiment. You have to learn that shit as you go. And so when you go to the gym, it's not like you just, what was that movie, The Fifth Element? Y'all ever see that movie, The Fifth Element? And that chick be eating all the chicken. And she goes up to this little microwave thing. It was wild. It's just, like they had this bowl, and she just looked like cracked pepper. And then she put this empty bowl with like cracked pepper in it, and she just puts it in this microwave thing. Goes, beep, 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 beep. He goes, ding. But instead of it being empty, that motherfucker is just this big, giant Lilu Dallas multipass. Multipass. Yeah, we're newlyweds. Multipass. That's not how working out work does. That's not how cooking works, right? Like, that's some future sci-fi movie. You gotta learn, like, when I cook chicken, you gotta turn in this, that, you gotta base it, you do this, and that, the other. If you go too long, you're gonna go over, whatever, right? It just ain't like that. Have a recipe is good, but you have to learn where the recipe works. You have a recipe in Denver, Colorado, it's not gonna work the same as it would in Galveston, Texas, right? Elevation, humidity, all that shit's gonna be different. Your workout that you may have bought online, or if you're going to use the free AI workout that we crafted, right? You're still going to have to go in there and figure out, are you doing it right? Are you using the right techniques? Can you use the right techniques? Do you have the equipment available to do the techniques? And then if you do have the equipment, do you know how to use the equipment? You'll commonly see me showing back squat, right? But if you have never squatted in your life in a gym, starting with a back squat is not the way to go. And I don't say that to be like, oh, look at me, look how great I am. It's because squatting's complicated. Putting a bar on your back is complicated. Doing the two of those things at the same fucking time, really complicated. And so to your point, DJen, right, it's theory and practice. You develop the theory of how to squat, and then you start practicing it. And then as you get better at it, and you want different goals or different developments, then you can start trying new tools and new techniques, right? Like, who the fuck is going to go buy a sous vide if they've never actually like cooked a piece of meat, right? They might buy the sous vide and they'll cook it with it once, and it's either not like they want it, or they don't know how to change it or any of it because they don't have the prior knowledge. They went to the fancy equipment because it was on Sharper Image and it was on discount or some shit. So all that to be said, learn how to engage your core. I think that's the big takeaway. learn some basic movements and then practice them. I'm working on, it's going to come probably in about a month or so, but maybe if I get my shit together, it'll be sooner. I'm trying to create 7 videos on YouTube, and they're going to be the 7, how I look at it, basic movements: hip hinge or deadlift, squat, lunge, vertical and horizontal pressing, vertical and horizontal pulling. If we can understand those 7 structures of exercise, anything out there is yours to do. You can figure out a good exercise or a bad exercise once you understand that base level, once you have that foundational knowledge. And so that's my big goal for the next couple of weeks. I already got 1 script written out, so I'm going to try to finish up the rest of the scripts, and then I gotta shoot them and do that content creator shit. All right, y'all. I have ran past my time for today. I got to get boogieing. Thank y'all all for being here. Triple extension and shit, right? Again, if you're looking for some help, if you got some pain in your life that's relative to movement, feel free to reach out to me. I'm here every Thursday for sure. Tuesday nights, Paul and I, we do a kind of round table, just kind of shoot the shit. This last time we were talking about the AI prompt we wrote and just kind of the pitfalls that come with AI and how to best utilize it for yourself if you are going to use it. I think next week, this Tuesday, we're going to talk about hip hinging and the dowel hinge. So if you are interested in maybe some understanding better about core engagement, Tuesday, 6:40 p.m. I think I have it labeled as 6:30, but it'll probably be 6:40. And I guess because we have people here, I actually got to fucking do a raid. Damn it, D-Gen. Why are you making me work? I appreciate it. Thank you all for being here. And we got a Reddit, Facebook, Meta, all that crap, the Twitch, the YouTubes. And anything piqued your interest or any of that jazz, feel free to holler at us. And we'd be oh so appreciative to try to help you out with whatever it may be. All right, DJ, who we rating? I guess none of the people I know are here. Similar or small size, that's what we want. Let's see here. Well, what's this little red? Upper body. Beach cycling. Well, let's see. Working out with friends. Anybody got any requests? Or am I just here by myself? She's in Turkey or something. Oh. Pizza Princess is on. Okay. Let's see if I can find that. Pizza Princess G, just chatting. Oh, she's in Turkey. That's all right. Am I rating or did I just go view it? Back. I don't think she lets us. Oh, there it is. There's the raid button. Perfect. All right, y'all. Well, enjoy being multicultural. Thank y'all for hanging out again and enjoy the rest of y'all's day. Looks like they got some coffee going or something. Looks tasty. All right, y'all. Be well.